Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Would it be possible to form some type of political party without K Street money or like Koch brothers or George Soros money?
The problem with that is you've got to get qualified as a party in all 50 states. And if you're interested in a presidential candidate, that means you're going to have a party apparatus in all 50 states, which, you know, from around here, setting up from scratch a party apparatus is not an easy thing. That takes money. And then remember, you aren't really voting for a person for president. You're voting for a board of electors. And you've got to get them on the ballot, round them up, and have the background that it takes for that purpose in order to get them in place to do anything about your candidates. So all of these minority, well, not minorities, but third string, second string parties are not on the ballots in every state.
So, man, but would it be possible? I mean, I keep on going back to Ross Perot. We got 18 or 19% of the popular vote, which really cost George Bush the election in 92.
Because it hurt Gore.
When I ain't talking about Gore, I'm talking about 92 when, Clinton on the one under 50% of the popular vote. I mean, Ross Perot.
Clinton didn't run against. You're talking.
I'm 92 when Ross Perot.
Walker Bush. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first with the elder Bush, the elder.
I'm thinking of that clown Ralph Nader.
Yeah, but I don't know. You don't think that Al Gore lost because even Tennessee didn't vote for Al Gore?
Yeah, but
Arkansas didn't vote for Al Gore.
They stole the election.
Okay.
Kathleen Harris, who was supposed to have been elected as head election commissioner for the state of Florida, volunteered to be co-chair of the George W. Bush campaign. She should have resigned her state office. The federal judge who had the case told me that when the experts testified that it looked like from their sampling, Gore was getting between 61 and 63% of the vote, Harris ran out and called the election. The state legislative body said it was not our intent to not count the votes. State Supreme Court said that. The federal district court said that. The U.S. Supreme Court on a 5-4 said it is not unconstitutional if a citizen is deprived of the effect of his vote if it has no material bearing on the outcome of the case. But with that language, it is absurd because when they actually did under the Freedom of Information count every single vote, Gore got 62-point-something% of the popular vote in Florida, and he was supposed to have had the Electoral College votes, and he was supposed to be president, not that sorry excuse George W. Bush.
I hear what you say. I mean, but Al Gore, his father was the U.S. Senator from Tennessee, Albert Gore Sr. Then you had Bill Clinton, who won Tennessee and Arkansas both times. Do you think it's really his fault that he lost? I mean, he could have still won without winning Florida if he won Tennessee and Arkansas. Or Arkansas.
Yeah, that's true.
So you think it's really him? He also picked a certain type of vice president candidate who might not have been he was Jewish. Lieberman is Jewish. Do you think that could have hurt him in the South or anywhere?
Plus, the South did not want a liberal.
Right. Because Bill Clinton is good at being that we call it blue dog Democrat. And he how the white folks whisper, like Donald Trump. He good at being that. Bill Clinton he was charismatic. He was a people person. He knew how to work it. And Al Gore seemed like he was so stiff and uncomfortable and trying to connect with the people.
you know what was tragic about that?
Mm-hmm.
Al Gore has the makings of a good stand-up comedian. I know him personally.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him, I said, why don't you show a sense of humor? He said, well, I'm trying to avoid the charismatic thing so the people vote for me on my issues. I said, well,
Oh, my God.
Mr. President, no, you got to, that isn't the way it works. But he was determined they were going to vote for the issue. So he deliberately refused to be entertaining.
Oh, it cost him an election.
Well, cheating.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in Florida was that they had Diebold voting machines just like they have here. The guy that ran the company is a rabid Republican. And they hired somebody from Tennessee, I won't mention his name right now, since he allegedly had experience with dealing with crooked Republicans, to come down and examine everything. And he okayed, after examining them, a series of punch card ballots that were printed off register. So when you put them down on the form, two things were wrong. They never cleaned out the forms from the last election, and they were pretty well filled with what they were calling chads. So when people took the punches and pressed out the chads, some of them didn't come all the way out, but they were easy enough to read when you looked at them.
Mm-hmm.
But what the problem was is since the forms were printed off register, the machines couldn't read anything on them.
Mm.
So they just had thousands of these forms that this guy from Tennessee okayed that were kicked out. So when the judge, federal judge, and the people from the Gore campaign and those from the Bush campaign put the statisticians on the job, and they went through examining samples from enough polling places to get a pretty good idea of the statistical likelihood of a vote being a certain way, it started indicating that Gore was getting 61 to 63% of the vote. So when Kathleen Harris called it, that cut off the vote count. And when they finally got it after everything was over under the Freedom of Information Act, well, it turned out that Gore got 62+% of the popular vote and should have gotten the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
So he got cheated out of the presidential election.
Mm.
He was supposed to have gotten the electoral votes for Florida.
But he didn't. Do you think he fought enough for it? I know the Congressional Black Caucus out there trying to fight for him in Congress to try
Well,
to.
they couldn't do anything because the U.S. Supreme Court, in a very piss-poor set of opinions on a 5-4 basis, said that was okay, even if the state legislature said that wasn't their intent, even if the state Supreme Court, which they always usually defer to, said that wasn't the state intent to call the elections before everything was counted.
Oh, Judge, you breaking up. You was breaking up.
What's that?
I said you broke up a little bit. It kind of sounded like you far away, but you was breaking up when you was talking.
Well, yeah. What happened was the U.S. Supreme Court said even though Kathleen Harris has an obligation as the election commissioner for the state to be fair and impartial, she also was entitled to exercise her biased options as head of the Bush campaign committee. And even though the state Supreme Court said it was not the intent of the law to cut off the vote count because all of the votes were not counted, and that law was only a directive but not an absolute, when the state legislature that had only a year and a half before passed the law said that was not our intent to cut off the vote, it was only a directive, they overruled them and they disregarded their past presidents so they could get Bush in.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is a disaster. We got 9/11 and Iraq and Afghanistan and all kinds of chicanery. And we got his protege, Barack Obama, in office. You know, the Sotoros, that is Barack's family, and the Bushes were long-term family friends. That's why George W. is always grinning and giving Michelle candy, because he used to give her husband candy when he was a little boy.
Oh, wow.
They grew up together. Well, Bush was already grown, but Barack grew up in the Bush household.
Oh man, we don't really have black folks really don't have no friends in office.
No, they don't.
But they go back to Judge, like, you know, my thing is about fairness. Getting back to the Michael Jackson, any of these guys, how can Oprah go out to Michael Jackson when she kissing up with Harvey Weinstein and hanging out with David Geffen? And
two different things. It's two different things. You know, outside the family is one thing. What happens inside the house is another.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody inside your family is messing up, you need to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we got to do is we got to get away from idolizing that sick, androgynous, self-mutilating freak, Michael Jackson.
Oh, he got a lot of
One of the things the security said is he looked like a zombie because he had no nose.
Mm.
That's why they had that thing out about him being in that oxygen tent. He had so many operations on his nose, it was getting necrotic. They were trying to save it, but they had to amputate it. So when he walked around the house, he looked like a damn zombie with no nose, or it rotted off. So you can see, and the last videos of his performances, you can see when he's really sweating.
Mm-hmm.
You can see through the makeup where the tape is coming loose, and you can see the line of the prostheses, the prosthetic nose. He had all of his melanin cells destroyed by laser, and they had to reopen up the scalp once or twice every year or two and rethread the Polynesian hair in his scalp because the knots they put in it to keep it from coming out were dissolved under the skin. Real freak.
So, but
by doing all that pain killing stuff that killed him. He was under a lot of pain from all of these surgeries on his face.
What about actually this? Like, do you think the family has a case of suing HBO and the other people involved in this Leaving Neverland documentary? I know you said you believe the people in it.
No. It's New York Times versus Sullivan. He's a public figure, and unless there is actual intentional malice that you can prove, you got no cause of action.
From my understanding, I heard that when they tried to show it in Britain, they had to edit out 45 minutes of the documentary because of the fans pointing out inaccuracies in the film. And they had to take out 45 minutes.
That's artistic license. Look at Selma that Oprah did.
Okay.
That wasn't anywhere close to the historical reality.
But the sad thing, this is the problem, that people would take that as the truth versus doing the research or talking to people that were there and getting different sides of the story.
Yes.
So that is being lazy as it's like the Green Book. You know, it's not about these movies not being well made, but are they telling the truth?
Well, let me read you this here.
Mm.
This is from Joseph Goebbels, pronounced Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. Now, this transfer will change the title of state to TC, feminism, LGBT, and you got it. And using the media, they repress any dissent.
I mean, wow.
Now that's the SOB that was the master of propaganda. And you know where he got a lot of his ideas from?
America,
He
Hollywood.
studied Hollywood's methods.
Mm-mm. I just, it's just hard to know what to believe, because I remember I talked to Malcolm X's nephew. He wrote a book about Malcolm X called The Seventh Son or Seventh Child. He was the seventh child of his father. And he was saying that the publisher told him, do you want to write a book or do you want a bestseller? He said, you can't have both. You want to make money, have a bestseller, or you just want to write a book? Because he
Yeah,
was telling them,
that's true.
find some salacious details about your family and about your uncle. And we could put it in the book and make a bestseller.
Yep,
Well,
there's the thing.
that's crazy.
The idea is entertainment versus a history book.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing Michael Jackson did talk about, like when he was at the National Action Network, when he was talking about Tommy Mottola in the music industry and about the conspiracies around him, and said once he became bigger than Beatles and the Elvis is when all his trouble started. But he was saying that you cannot trust the history books because they lie in the history books.
Well, Michael Jackson, he was his own problem.
Okay.
Self-hating little sucker.
Mm.
Cut his face all up like that so he wound up looking like an anime cartoon.
But
that's sick.
I understand. I mean, a lot of people will agree with you, Judge, on this. A lot of people have came out about this. But my thing is, like, people like John Legend, who he said he believes the documentary, but he did music with Michael Jackson. He took pictures with Michael Jackson. Why did he not confront Michael Jackson while Michael was alive?
Everybody doesn't tell on everybody. And a lot of folk don't have the nerve to do it.
Do you think that's being distant?
There was a guy named Norby Walters.
Okay.
Norby Walters was a white gangster.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people serving time, life in the penitentiary for first-degree murder because they were contracted by Norby to pull off hits.
Mm.
Norby turned out to be one of my neighbors. There were rumors that I'd heard from back when about Berry Gordy of Motown being jacked up by this white gangster so that he wound up having to pay him 15% of Motown's earned income off of the top.
Wow.
And Norby told me out of his own mouth how he decided he wanted a boy group. So it was at the first Watts Festival. And the winner of the talent contest was supposed to get a Motown recording contract. Well, the Jackson 5 didn't win. I was there. I saw it. The winner was somebody that was kind of like a better shape Aretha Franklin. Second place was a group like the Temptations. And then the Jackson 5 were down there. They sound like a bunch of little squeaking rats. Cute kids, but they didn't sound good in terms of voice or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Norby said he decided that he wanted this boy group, so he told Barry that they were going to change things around and the recording contract was going to the Jackson 5.
Wow.
So that was the gangster pushing him. And frankly, I never could stand the music. Sounded like a bunch of little rats in a burlap bag getting drowned. And I thought little children singing about love was absolutely ridiculous. Sounded like something out of a junior high sock hop at best. But they loved that mess, and they pushed him because he was androgynous, just like they push tranny stuff now, because it's about choice of gender, which you can't choose your gender. Like some woman walked into a pub I was in a couple of weeks ago talking about she was a man. We asked her to leave the table. She said, well, I'm a man. I'm staying here with the rest of the men. Said, well, you uninvited and you're not a man. Right. You don't just declare yourself to be a man. There are a lot of dues to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
She got offended. But anyway, she wound up leaving. But you see, that kind of thing, when Michelle Jackson jumped around looking like a freak, well, that just was good about undermining the masculine image for all of these young black kids. And white ones, too. So that was good for LGBTQ purposes. That was not good for us as a race. It was not good for masculinity in general.
I always say Michael Jackson, just think about what you're saying. He put himself in positions he shouldn't put himself in. But I also got to say, but what about the enablers? I'm talking like the foundation, like Make-A-Wish Foundation, that kept on giving him kids after the first time.
That's cause these, look, what would happen if black folk wound up getting to the top of most organizations? If they had some conscientious, dedicated black folk, we could go far.
Right.
But that's not what's happening. But LGBTQ and femmes and their sycophants have gotten to the top of everything, and they are propagandizing and pushing their agenda.
So what should we do then as black people? Should we give in, or should we study them and try to beat them at their own game, if possible?
They're beating us at our own game. They looked at what we did that was effective, and instead of them just being sporadic about it, they concentrated on it. They're running the same thing we used to run. And it got us nowhere because we backed off of it, and J. Edgar and the boys at the FBI infiltrated all of our organizations.
I heard that. And I got to ask you, because I'm thinking about this now, about this Hollywood college admissions scandal involving Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin and some other people.
Oh, that I've been telling UCLA's admission for the last 20 years, you need to do something about what you're doing. It's poisonous. See, there are two games they run. One is these SAT tests and the graduate record exam. They used to be aptitude tests, right? Well, it's not much of an aptitude test if you enroll your child in a course that he attends every semester from the 7th grade on to prepare him to take the test. It's not an aptitude test. So the test scores are ramping up. The other thing about grade point average is this. An A in a regular high school class is a 4.0. If you go to what they call an advanced placement class, a B is 5.0. This is for the University of California. If you get an A, it's 6.0. Now, some schools like Beverly Hills High School had so many advanced placement classes that they put a limit on the number that a student could get credit for. A place in the black community like Jordan High School, which is on 103rd Street in Watts, they didn't have enough to fill up the number of classes a kid could take to get full credit. Now, if you had one that had enough advanced placement classes, they had what they called an advanced placement track. So in other words, your B's counted 5.0, your A's counted 6.0, and instead of having a kid that, say, got straight A's in high school classes, which would be a 4.0, you'd get somebody with like a 5.2. And then, see, if you were in an advanced placement track, they would up your grade point average by 1, so they'd get 6.2. So they would make no accommodation by the difference. And a kid with a 4.0 straight A's would get overwritten and not get the same admissions credit as somebody who had a 4.9 or a 5.2, which included some B's and not all A's. And then these kids from these schools would have practiced these exams for 5 years. Every semester and during the summer. An aptitude test, it's like this. Let's say they have tryouts for a gym class. Let's say, what do they call it? Gymnastics. So you get a kid who's got natural talent, and he walks out there and he shows his talent. But there's another kid whose mama's had him in gymnastics since he's been 5 years old, and he's now 15. Is he showing talent, or is he just showing what he'd already learned?
Mm-hmm.
So one is getting an aptitude test, and the other one is just getting a chance to illustrate what he's learned rather than what his aptitude is.
I mean, but there isn't the way it's supposed to be set up. That's how, I mean, I remember I went to Washington University in St. Louis, which is a top level school, and the white kids would tell me how they prep for a test. Because there's a lot of smart people that not well, they don't take tests well. There's a lot of very, very smart people that don't take tests well for whatever reason. But they'll tell me how they, like you said, get prepped. But then you got the situation where you got people that are buying out the people who actually create the scores. Like they're not even
people
studying.
Had $25 million in a fund that they all put up.
Right.
And they were using the $25 million fund, so these other folk working with them would go behind their children, pull the test, and redo them.
And now how long they was doing this? Then we got to ask the question: how long this practice been going on?
For a while.
Right. So that makes a lot of people that supposed to went to school
arrived in here, so the coach would say he's on the athletic team. Why? But see, they know that they want their kids to get this, so they want their kids to make something of themselves in the world.
Right.
So they're quite happy to cheat for them. Kid might not even know it's been done. They were remarking on that.
Right. I read that. But my say is the FBI was.
What do we do? But on the other hand, what do we do in our background? You better go find something for yourself to do. I got to sit here. I got to relax. You sitting up here with the lights on. You better get your nose out that book. You ain't going to be nothing with it. All you do is know some book learning. You need to get some good sense. No, you ain't getting that either.
I mean, like you said, what do we expect, though? We act like we shocked about the whole thing. Trump said the game was rigged. He didn't say it was not rigged in his favor, but everything, the fix is in. Even look at sports, how they call the games. It's not the players per se, it's the officials.
And you see, they put up $25 million to help their kids. We can't even get our folk to sit down at the table and try to help them with their homework.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it illustrates a great point. So let me ask you this, Judge: should they face the full wrath like Justice Smollett or Smollett or Justin, whatever his name?
They need to, because they need to make an example of this. This is just inappropriate and reprehensible conduct. It doesn't get any worse.
Wait, but white women were the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action. How come they need so many legs up or so much help?
See, it didn't start out with white women.
Of course.
They were neglected, because the idea is that the status of a race was determined by the status of the men of that race.
Mm-hmm.
And these things were for minorities. But what happened is the feminists, who just basically got their start in the 60s when they did have affirmative action, they weren't in on it, but they co-opted it later, and they used the methodology of affirmative action under another label, and they got it. They wouldn't give it for black anymore, or for China, or for Native American or Mexican. But the women got it. See, that's what they do. They co-opt what black men set up. And it wasn't black women. It was black men that set up these affirmative action programs, right? And now you don't hardly see any black men in college enough to be working on it.
Yeah.
So these women have been glorifying what they do in the business and professional world, but they've let things slip in the home place, and the children are suffering.
Do you believe the women understand that some of them need to take some type of responsibility for being the gatekeepers and pawns and destroying the black family?
Yeah, they don't understand it. They don't understand it.
Okay.
Y'all do not understand it. I was listening to a conversation the other day. Woman up there hollering at her mother. Talking about, I've got a right to enjoy myself. And she said, baby, you had 6 kids. You ain't got no right to enjoy yourself. You got a responsibility to be a mama. I can go party. I ain't dead just 'cause I got 6 children. Well, you got 5 different baby daddies. You haven't exercised any discretion. It's your obligation to raise them. I got an obligation to enjoy myself. I said, God dang.
No, that's right. I could. Wow. I also met some women that I was surprised they were married, and I said, "Who? What type of man married this woman? Like, he either got to be somebody that's very secure in his manhood. You know, he take charge, or he's some simp and a pushover."
Well, he may not get it at home, but then he may, and they got this thing like a happy wife, happy life.
Right.
And sometimes it's cheaper to keep her, and getting out of it is just a miserable experience. So this poor guy is trying to, he loves his wife, maybe, if he isn't sick of her. And he's trying to make things go along, but she doesn't know how to cooperate. She does not know compromise. She's been taught that women shouldn't compromise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a damn mess.
That's crazy. But I think it does need. I keep on looking at what's going on with black men. Our image, via proxy of Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, whoever you want to assert black male celebrity, that we really have taken a hit in this period. And a lot of it has to do with our women not, I ain't gonna say necessarily support, but they are doing things because everywhere I go, Judge, like if I go to the IRS, there's a black woman involved and determine my fate. If I go to get put over by police, it's a black woman, or post office, a black woman. Black women are everywhere being allowed to hold these jobs down, social services, that determines the fate of individuals as well as a collective group of people. And I don't think they are very much aware of this type of power they're wielding and who benefits from them making certain decisions.
Well, look at this. The Defense Department was a little worked up when they noted that only 44% of the workforce is male.
Wow.
You saw this thing with Google where they said they found that when they did rationalization, they found that women were getting paid more for the same job than men.
Interesting. Wow.
See, where is this going? In undergrad, only 32% of the nation's undergrad students are male, and that isn't just black people. That's all.
Right.
Okay? Now, grad students, only 36% of grad students are male. What is going on with this picture? See, men aren't raising families, so what the hell are they doing? I see, the thing of it is human children are most receptive to the mother until they get about 7 years old.
Okay.
So mothers historically have taken it upon themselves to condition girls to be girls and boys to be boys and set the stage for the boys being receptive to what men can teach them. Now they try to destroy that, so this kid that's dependent upon his mother because he's a human child is not getting a chance. And they want to get all this pride on being business women and professionals and everything. Fine. But what about what happens in the home place? And everybody's not a lesbian, and some women want a man, and you just aren't making a new generation of men. You're making something else.
Yeah, I mean, because you listen to people say, "Oh, he looks good in a dress. He should be win best dressed female." He's not really. He's not a female.
Oscar? Oh, that was disgusting.
Yeah.
That was just disgusting. But see, that's what they want. And see, they want this picture of a black male in a dress with his white husband on his arm. See, that suits people's purposes. If you keep propagandizing that, what did Goebel say? Tell a lie long enough, loud enough, you can get anybody to believe it. And if they keep seeing it, they'll believe it even more. So you keep seeing images of black males in dresses. You get black males who never become men and want to wear a dress.
Well, when you said that, I was thinking about some of my so-called black Hollywood celebs, like, people that are iconic, like Will Smith or even a Magic Johnson, I look at, okay, but your sons are wearing dresses and makeup, and is that the deal you got to make? That your son must become like a part of the agenda?
Well, I think Will Smith's kids took after him and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But on Magic Johnson, that just may have been a case of not enough attention being given to them, and defensively, they were just rejecting manhood because they felt like they were getting rejected.
That's deep right there. I'm gonna say, I look at these Hollywood guys. I mean, Denzel's son seems like he's a straight guy. I don't know him. But you never hear about Denzel. They ain't have did anything to him.
No, Denzel, as far as I know, is straight.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying nobody ain't do no Me Too stuff on him and stuff. I hope they don't do it. Please. There's nothing to come out of it. Yeah.
They'll try.
So
remember, the woman that was being the editor for Teen Vogue says it's all right for women to lie and ruin a man's career if it helps out their cause.
That's some evil stuff, man. You shouldn't do that to anybody. But that's horrible.
And look at Smollett. I mean, he's innocent until he's proven guilty, technically, but look what he's done. He was bad-mouthing black masculinity, making it look like it was white masculinity, down in men, so whatever he is could look good.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joe, let me ask you about, I guess, switching up a little bit. Somebody wanted me to ask you this question. There's a gentleman that got involved in this type of road rage incident with a cop, off-duty cop in Georgia. He claimed that a cop pulled a gun out on him. Supposedly, he reported the incident, and then when he went to court, the judge could not find any reference to the incident in the incident report. It was like, well, it's not filed or something like that, allegedly. So he was thinking about, what can he do? Can he sue the judge or the courts?
No, he can't sue the judge. He can't sue the court system. He should go to the feds and see what the FBI does with it. Okay. I am never optimistic about the FBI, but maybe the Justice Department might look into it.
Have you ever heard of something like that happening before?
Yeah, a lot of times. Happens all the time.
Really? Okay. Because he said a guy brandished his gun, then when he called the police on the guy, the cops were all friendly with the guy. I guess they knew he was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I mean, I sound naive, but
I mean, it can happen our way too. I know some black cops that have done stuff like that, and their buddies protected them.
Interesting. That blue shield, boy, that stuff is real. Wow.
There's a brother that I know, Stan Mason, who just retired from the Waco Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
He does a radio program called Behind the Blue Shield, where he exposes that kind of stuff. They threaten to kill him all the time.
Hey, he in Texas. Them guys, man. That's like the Wild West still in some places, right? Wow. Especially Waco. Man. Wow.
But you see, it happens.
Mm-hmm. I'm just glad stuff like that don't really happen. I mean, I got pulled over by police last week speeding down Union, and the guy let me go. He started apologizing profusely. This white cop in the part of the K9 unit. I couldn't figure that stuff out. I don't know what's wrong with this picture. Like, he pulled me over before I could even put my license or insurance out. He apologized and said, "Oh, you supposed to be speeding and go home. Go ahead, go." I said, "Okay." I don't know what this is about, but it's just crazy what's going on. That is okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're in transit in America. The value system for black, white, brown, red, yellow people is being upturned.
Okay.
The way men are supposed to treat women is under attack.
Right.
You see this latest thing with this black woman who was a wrestler, got a fractured skull, and this white boy looking like he's a male but with a bra on is flexing after he did this to her because he says he's a woman, he's a tranny.
Oh, my God.
See, that kind of stuff has got to stop, and is not going to until somebody gets killed or seriously hurt.
This is crazy, man. I don't understand how people go along with this because they're afraid of losing their jobs and their perks.
Well, it's called politically correct. In other words, you claim to be a good Christian, certain things you support, even if you don't see the point to them. If you get PC, politically correct, which is a type of religion, you claim to support these things, even if they're not what you actually think yourself.
Yeah, because being a guy, I don't care what he does. He cut his penis off, whatever, fillet it, whatever. You still gonna be a man. Or you gonna be a male. Let's say a male.
Because they decide that they want to be something else, one should not gainsay him. It's now a her. And if he kills a real woman, that's all right, because he was being what he wanted to be.
It's crazy. But I mean, even like with the abortion thing, like they want to get later and later with the abortion. I was like, man, where's the, you say you want to have an abortion the day before you give birth. Like, okay, what's your take on that, Judge, the late-term abortion stuff?
I have never had a problem with a woman getting an abortion.
Even late-term?
I don't care.
Why?
You can wait 6 weeks and have another good screw and have another one. And they got too many people anyway, and too many people can't raise what they do have. Well,
you might have poor people. But that's like eugenics, though, Judge.
You know what we have? If you don't sometimes, you get what they call postnatal abortion. It's called the drive-by, the drug overdose, the electric chair, the lethal injection, the gas chamber.
So are you for eugenics or some type of Planned Parenthood? You have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with Planned Parenthood.
But it's like what you talk about a form of eugenics as well? Like get rid of certain types of people?
Adolf Hitler, the problem with that is you open it up to abuse.
I was like, how can you have logic in the world where people want to believe that a man could be a woman? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to just go along with this bullshit. Right?
It's the problem.
Uh-huh.
There is a de-emphasis of the masculine componentry being rational, logical, reasonable, analytical, and critical,
and
replacing it with a feminist emotionality.
Hello, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I got disconnected my end. I mean, that's when you get into the good part. My phone went dead on me. But, yeah, I just want to get several more moments with you. Do you remember what we was talking about?
Oh, boy. Let's see. What was I talking about?
I think it was, what were we talking about? I guess we can move on from that. But I just want to get your thoughts about, this is the 200th anniversary of Memphis' founding, but this is also an election year. I guess a very important election year. You have some very interesting thoughts about the Memphis political scene and climate right now. What is your take on the Memphis political scene?
Well, too many people are uninterested in what's going on with it.
Mm-hmm.
They are too distracted by entertainment, fairs and circuses. And I asked a woman the other day who wanted to take a picture with me. I said, I tell you what, you'll have to earn it. Quote me one somebody that's holding a political office in Memphis who's not the mayor. She couldn't do it. She didn't know who her own councilman was. She didn't know anybody, and she still, by the way, thought A.C. Wharton was the mayor.
Really?
Yep.
How old was it? Oh, wow.
That's how bad it is.
How old was this woman?
About 45, I'd say, from looking at her.
Really? Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
And that is it in a nutshell.
I mean, are you excited about the mayoral candidates at all? The ones who announced recently?
I intend to support Doc Harrington
as he says, he wants to straighten this out before they get a Strickland machine. Strickland's not a good mayor, and he doesn't have the vision. He doesn't have the leadership. He doesn't have the charisma to do what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a dead end. I'd like to get rid of our 9th District Congressman as well. Same observation relative to him.
Oh, Steve Cohen.
Oh, yeah. He snuck in because most of whom didn't have the chance of a ice cube in hell to get elected, but they wanted to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. So we're going to have a people's convention like we did in 1991 to see if we can't do something to restore rationality to this scene. Or at least make it uncomfortable for somebody that decides to clutter up the works and make it easy for Strickland to get a split vote. I also am very disenchanted with the black people on the city council, with certain few select exceptions. For 30-some years, we worked trying to get runoff elections stopped so black people wouldn't always lose. So now a white city councilman introduced a bill that most of the blacks supported, having what they call an instant runoff. So that means for any city position, you have to vote for 2 people, your first choice and your second choice. And if your first choice doesn't get 50+%, then they count the votes that the second highest number of people got in the second round with what that person got in the first round, and that person becomes the winner.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost guaranteed to get what you got right now. You got a white mayor. I'm not being racist about it. He's just not very good at what he's supposed to be doing. And white people are only 19.1% of registered voters in the city and 28-point-some% in the county. Yet they hold all of the important offices. And each time we've had at least a handful of black aspirants who have split the vote. And again, I will say this, our black county commissioners who are in the majority ought to be deeply ashamed of themselves for not voting to support a simple resolution to replace these corrupt voting machines that we have. The feds gave us the money to replace every damn one of them 11 years ago. And all it takes is a simple majority resolution. And every time we get at least 3 black county commissioners who vote against it, they're bought off. That needs to stop. But there you go. So with the machines being corrupt, according to the feds, we haven't had a fair election around here in about 19 years.
So what would be like the number one priority for a political agenda in Memphis? What's the number one priority?
We need educate. Well, these idiots gave up the educational charter and switched it over to the county, and now it's privatized, and the people in the county are more into running for money than they are for educational excellence, so that's not helping us out there. And we've got a bad thing about job
Well, Judge?
Select few developers and the tax.
You said you got with the out. Judge, you said you got a bad thing about jobs.
Yeah, I mean, we got a bad problem with jobs. The police department needs to be brought under control again. It hasn't been under control since Doc Harrington was in there. EC let it get out of control, and Strickland's making it worse on purpose. We have no rational development, no city planning, and we've got a hodgepodge of ad hoc things that make no sense except for the fact that money under the table is being handed out to those who agree to zoning variances. So those who are into construction material supply, real estate acquisition, management, and development, which is basically the same handful of people, can continue to make millions of dollars off of the taxpayers. The city council and the county commission both okay projects that require zoning variances where it's not the developer's money that's being spent, but the city money that's being spent. It's rationalized by saying it's good for business, but there's no money for black business development. We only had one black city contractor, that was Attorney Handel Durham, who was getting 10 cents off the dollar for collecting past due fines and costs for city court. And then Harold Collins, who is not one of our friends, jumped in there and tried to get a resolution passed to ban Handel Durham from having this contract with the city, and then he came out there with 19 others who had a contract, similar contract, but they were white, and instead of getting 10%, they were getting 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, that kind of thing has gotten far out of hand. So, we need to get control of the DA's office and the sheriff's office. We need to get control of these criminal court judges, because some of them that are in there are not good for us. They were racist as young prosecutors, and they're worse racists now as judges. We've got maybe 3 exceptions, and that's it. So we need to turn out at least 7 judges. We need to know who they are, but we've got a bad track record with that. This thing that some of our more nefarious people do by putting out these ballots that have people on them who are not good for us has got to stop. They do it for money, and they get a windfall every election season, and they don't care who you are, they get money from you. For example, we had a criminal court judge who's now deceased. His name was Joe McCarty. Judge McCarty had formerly been Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in this area and chairman of the White Citizens Council. And quite frankly, something was wrong with him. But he kept getting the black vote over and over and over because he was on everybody's ballot. So that kind of thing has been going on for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it's time for us to have turn the, sir?
We need to pay attention.
Yes, sir. What about, I guess, the millennial leadership? We got Tammy Sawyer of Black Lives Matter and Take Down 901 fame. She declared her candidacy for mayor as well.
I'm not supporting her.
Okay.
I'm going to work very hard against her. I'm supporting Doc Harrington.
And what do you think is
Black Lives Matter is not a black thing. It was an LGBTQ thing. They've got a 13-point program, and prominent, first at the top of that platform, is a straight up and down LGBT agenda.
Okay.
And it was a disguise for, well, not disguise for, but it is the typical mess that you find LGBTQ doing, which is to masquerade as something interested in black people that's really pushing their aims exclusively.
Mm.
So I'm not supporting her. I'm supporting Doc Harrington to bring some sanity to this and to prevent there being a black machine.
Mm. Well,
not a black machine, another machine under Strickland.
Yeah, like Strickland really benefits from the divided black vote. He has been a great beneficiary. Yeah.
It's the only way he can get in. Less than a fifth of the registered voters in this town are white. How do you think he gets in? He's got 4 or 5 blacks running against him, and there's no runoff. Or at least there wasn't. Now there won't be, there'll be instant runoff.
Interesting. It is quite evident that the powers that be in the city does not trust the people.
It doesn't.
Mm.
It's a shame.
Mm. So this people's
not getting what we want, but on the other hand, there's a saying about the American system that holds true. You get the representation you deserve. Now let's start deserving some excellent representation.
That's I guess we all should be able to agree on that. The reasonable people. So Judge, what is the best way for you to get in touch with you? I know you got a lot of fans out there.
Well, I don't like to give my personal number out because there are cranks out there.
Yeah.
Gold digging women. There are some crazy people. And there are some people that would love to set you up.
Yep.
And I have enough causes to be guarded as it is, but I'm friendly with people when they run into me. And by the way, if you want a picture, come ask me. Don't be a coward and start trying to take a video or a photo over somebody's shoulder like I can't see you.
Yes, Joe, you are very approachable. I tell people all the time that want to reach out to you. Go to on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV. That's your actual Twitter handle with no blue check on.
Yeah, and I'm almost at 10,000 now, so that's not bad in a year.
No, it's definitely not bad. And I know I get people like I understand you, man. People don't understand. Like I get inboxes and texts and stuff, all types of calls from people. You just don't know who people are. Like it's people I don't even invite to my home because I don't know who they are. Especially that carry guns. Cause I know I meet cats sometimes. I say that's me in the public place. I don't really know you like that because I don't want nothing to be happening in my private space, and we don't know what really happened. So I understand you about your weirdness about that.
I've had some stalkers to the point of where I've actually had to get police departments involved.
Wow.
Serious, deranged people.
So these like female and male admirers or just females?
Basically, with one exception, female. The male is a pervert.
Oh, my God.
And he sued me in state court and went all the way to the state Supreme Court. And what he was upset about was this woman sued him and won. And I told her she should be ashamed of herself for gold digging, but she had the right of it. She was saying that this guy was a pervert. He tried to push in the bathroom door to see her sitting on the can taking a dump, and he'd like to look in the toilets afterwards. So it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. They said I was immune and held in their 23-page written opinion that I was qualified as an arbitrator under California law, and everything I did was official under the California statutes. So
okay.
That was good.
Well, do you have like a female stock? You said, man, if she wasn't so crazy, I might date her.
No. She's crazy. The one that gave particular problems actually had escaped from a mental institution.
Oh, geez.
And her sister, who had custody of her 2 children, was in hiding. And she had literally shot at several people.
Wow.
And she was a tall woman, so she was masquerading as a gay dude.
Jesus. Wow.
So she could more easily stalk people. and she switched over to somebody else after a while.
Wow.
He even said several times he discovered that I was out on a date, and the woman was sitting at the very next table.
Jeez. So that woman in particular was sitting at the next table?
Yeah, the woman that was stalking me was sitting at the next table.
Well, you lucky that she didn't do nothing drastic then, like in terms of like she was like known for shooting people. Wow.
Well, I had a carry permit out there, one of the rare ones in California, so I was armed, no problem.
Mm-hmm. No, like I just know some women like it's like for some women the prettier they are, the more crazier. Or like, you know, there's some women that I meet that are very beautiful, but then you wonder why they're alone and they start opening their mouth and it makes sense.
Well, yeah, but some women who are beautiful aren't crazy.
No, it's true.
And I found that the pretty ones are actually easier to talk to if they aren't crazy. And that's because they actually have something to look at. And they're very self-conscious about it. People are scared. Guys are scared to talk to them because they look so fine. So they're starved for conversation. And the people that do try to run obvious games. And they're tired of that. So if you just talk to them straight up, very easy to talk to. Now, the crazies, all bets are off.
Sometimes the crazies won't let you talk, though. That's the issue. I'm saying, like, they would say they want to talk, then it's all about them.
Yeah, I know. That kind of...
Yeah, it's like, wow. Especially one that won't be politics.
It's
oh, my God.
It's feminist political stuff. And see, that's what you...
Yeah, thank you.
We're supposed to be ignorant, and we've had our chance. We messed everything up, but let's put it this way. We made our mistakes, but we didn't manage to mess stuff up so badly as some of these women have done in just 40-some years.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm looking at the top leadership of the Democratic Party. It's like, wow.
It's pathetic. It's so weak.
But it's dominated by women, though. It's women that are dominating the thing.
Yes, and they aren't doing very well.
No. Nope, they're not. I mean,
I don't have any problems with a woman being a congresswoman, a senator, or something like that.
Yeah.
Alderman, commissioner, or something like that. But when it comes to the top, they got too many problems. They get their nails done, hair done, makeup done. Got to get their clothes just right. They got to go deal with the grandchildren or their children. They get that time of the month. They get cranky and evil. They got to take off the female problems. They miss a lot of days. They don't get this male thing about how powerful people get along with each other. It's always their way, no compromise. They're always got a chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some exceptions, but it's just not good. But meanwhile, the home place is going to hell, and they aren't paying attention to that. So men have their primary obligations to protect and serve. That's what the police departments try to co-opt. But we hopefully try to do that, though some of these mothers are hell-bent on making their boys into something other than men who won't. And I think one of the problems with that is these boys that are raised that way get a free ride because they don't shoulder their obligations to protect their neighborhoods and maintain public peace, dignity, and order, and they're always dependent on somebody else doing it for them. So for women are a resource, so are children. Women and children in the lifeboat first. But when you got a penis, you ought to be out there protecting and dealing with your obligations and responsibilities instead of acting like a girl. And wanting to get supported by the guys or protected by the guys or doing what you can to take the guys down so they can't fulfill their traditional roles. Now, a lot of women tell me I'm full of it, but I look at you and ask, if you got a man, what's he doing?
The answer will be no, but they love to see a guy dress up in a dress.
Oh, yeah. But it's 2:23 a.m., and you got your nice little townhouse. You're up on the second floor. You read one of your novels. As far as you going for the night, finish your glass of Chablis. You snuggle up in the bed after you turn off the lights, and 3 minutes later, 5-10 minutes later, you hear some broken glass on the second floor. Are you going to go down and do it? Do you have a man laying up there with you who can go down and do it? Is he competent to do it? Or is he hiding under the bed getting ready to cry about it? Or do you have nobody and you got to go deal with it?
Yeah. Those are great questions. I think women got to be honest with themselves about it, like how they raise their sons. You need men around, but what they're trying to, like Terry Crews got into it with some people online, which is interesting on Twitter.
Yeah, they're handicapped when they don't have mom and dad.
Right. You need a father presence. Yeah, you do need a father figure around.
Yeah.
Some type of man.
And you know what you should have told all of them? Hey, go to hell. I'm a man. I know what time it is.
But he want that job in Hollywood. He said he apologized to people with his 16 followers on Twitter, from my understanding.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't apologize, no.
The difference between him and me, when he gives me that kind of thing in Hollywood, you know what? Go to hell. Bye. I'm out here. See, I am a M-A-N in capital letters, underlined and in bold.
Right.
And nothing is going to compromise that. I don't care what it is. There's not enough money on this planet for me to compromise being a man.
I heard that, Judge. Well, I know we thank you so much for sharing your time and your man knowledge and wisdom and insight with our people, man. Like I said, people really enjoy your commentary. They're always looking for it. I'm glad to see that the social media atmosphere or landscape has provided you with platforms to amplify and echo your message of manhood. And standing up for stuff. I mean, people need it. It's very timely because we are in trouble as a country.
Yeah.
You can take a look at the way you're looking.
My motto has long been protecting womanhood and promoting manhood.
Yes, sir.
But I won't be here forever. And we need some more men to protect womanhood, and I'm promoting their development. And what I'm seeing right now is not very good for the promotion of manhood. And I think we're going to get a lapse. And you know what they call that?
What?
It's called decadence. And this country is rapidly approaching a decadent condition that is irretrievable. And if it doesn't do something about restoring the family, it will be all the way there. And it will fall to being a third-rate power, just like Great Britain.
Wow. Judge, thank you so much. The words are great to go to. We love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing, sir. Thank you.
All right, sir. Have a great day.
You too.